Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern and time for Sales Logic Live. It is a rare Saturday morning. I am in my house in Asheville, North Carolina, and Mark is in his studio in Dallas, Texas. How you doing this morning, Mark?
I'm doing great. Except for the topic. No, the topic's a great topic. We're going to be talking about the art of rejection. Yeah. And we're also going to be talking about why you need to get to Sales Logic Live on May 24th as we roll out the Sales Logic system. So our top 10 list, in fact, is geared around that. Yeah. So it's going to be good.
All right, let's go ahead and run the video and dive into the show. All right. Welcome back to a Sales Logic Live. I'm sorry, Mark, I cut in too fast. You go ahead and jump.
No, go ahead. I wasn't sure who was leading, so go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to quickly, I love the topic today. We're going to be talking about rejection. And I tell you the truth, I think we need to gear up for rejection because the moment that the economy gets tight, boy, we really got to learn to sell because it isn't a matter of, excess money in the budgets and people looking to spend money. They get a lot tighter with both the budget and the decisions they want to make. And you've got to be able to learn to navigate that. But really quickly, I'm going to tell you how the show works. Every week we come to you at 8 a.m. Eastern and we start off with a question from you, the audience. So, hey, if you've got something that's burning that you want Mark and I to dive into, go to saleslogicpodcast.com, type your question in right there. We'll feature you here on the show. We cover a hot topic. We discuss a book that we think you ought to be reading. We have a lightning round. And as part of that lightning round, we now have a download that if you go to saleslogicpodcast.com, you can literally get a sheet that helps you put the strategies we talk about right in this show so you can execute immediately and get your return on investment. So with Mark, I'll turn that over to you.
Hey, the topic today is the art of rejection. And I'll tell you what, rejection's coming so many different directions. I had two funny not sad situations, a meeting with a VP of sales and a meeting with a CRO. Both did not happen because both were let go 24 hours earlier. With absolutely no notice due to major downsizings in the SaaS companies. I do a lot of work in the SaaS world. So, I mean, we got to be ready. We got to be ready to handle this. So anyway, we got a great question. We got a great book and let's dive in. The question today comes from Roosevelt, Nassau, Bahamas. In fact, you were there last week.
That's how I got the question.
That's where you got the question. See this. We go out and get our questions live. I love that. I am in the real estate business, and for now, sales are holding strong, but inventory, that's another story. There are just not enough houses to sell. I'm doing everything to convince people to sell, but it's tough going. So much rejection, so many no's. How do I keep my motivation and persistence up when I go weeks, even months without a positive response?
Roosevelt, you got it tough right now. I mean, being in the real estate business, especially in a place like the Bahamas, where the money is still good on housing, people are a little bit hesitant to sell their homes because where else are they going to go, right? So let's go ahead and talk a moment about rejection. And because I want to address both parts of your question, not only dealing with the rejection, but keeping your motivation high. And the place I think that you need to begin is realize rejection is not about you. I think one of the biggest places where we as salespeople make a mistake is we take rejection personally. We think it is about us. We think it is about our product. And the truth is rejection doesn't have anything to do with you.
I like that. I view rejection as it's as if I'm going through an intersection. I've got the green light and a car from the side runs the red light and T-bones me, hits me hard. And, I can say they rejected. I was just in the right place at really the right time. And it was just a series of circumstances. when people reject us, we have no idea what's going on in their life before we call them. We have no idea what's going on. So again, it's not personal at all. But the key is to have the persistence, and this is a key thing we got to talk about. Persistence of staying in the game, because if you allow that single rejection to stop you, it's amazing how you'll shut down. And then guess what? It's impossible to close sales that you first don't open. Hello, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah. Then let's look at the market that you're in right now. I mean, you're in the real estate market and inventories are low and people don't really want to sell. I mean, we've sort of seen the rise of the in the last couple of years. I mean, real estate's been going crazy. So now we're down to really trying to dig in where people who didn't have any motivation to sell, you're trying to get them to sell. So embrace your reality. You're in a difficult market. So you should expect rejection. I mean, that sounds so simple, but just getting your head right around the fact that I'm probably going to be rejected. I'm in for the long game, not the short game. I mean, think about this, Roosevelt. What do you think the chances are that you are going to interact right now with somebody at the exact moment they're ready to buy? Aren't most people who sold their homes or bought homes, didn't they do that in the last couple of years? So now you're down to the resistors, the people who it's going to take more to convince them. So once you kind of get your head right around your market, and I think any of you out there that do a complex sale, a big sale that costs a lot of money. I've got a friend who sells yachts. I mean, yachts are not cheap. So it's going to take a while to get people over the finish line. So number 2, prepare yourself for rejection.
And I think you got to stay in the game. Yesterday, I had a classic example. I had some time in the afternoon, and I said, I'm going to make some more calls. And I'm making some more prospecting calls. And a person came up on my list. And this is a gentleman's name who I've reached out to probably 8, 10, 12 times over the last couple of years. And, nothing happens. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'll call him late Friday afternoon, leave him a voicemail. Doggone it. 45 minutes later, he calls me back from his car. And he says, Mark, we need to talk on Monday. We really do need to figure out how to get you in here. And so think about that. If I had not been persistent enough in just continuing the calls, and I'll have to go back to my CRM system to see how many contacts I've had with him. But it actually started, I remember it started pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, I began reaching out to him. So, I mean, what is that, like 3.5, 4 years now? But you don't let go of people because, again, this is a big opportunity, great situation. I know I can help them. You got, Roosevelt, you got to stay persistent because there are people who are rejecting you today who will turn around and contact you 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now and say, hey, you know what? I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to move forward. Yeah.
Mark, we've got sales guru Andrew Sykes in the house. I just heard a podcast he did on Victor Antonio's podcast, and you can imagine the conversation between the two of them.
Oh yeah,
it was really, really powerful. And he says, expect rejection, perhaps even fall in love with it. Boy, that is a great challenge on the table. Buyers have objections, shoppers don't. So true, right? Because you can think of it as at least people are interested. At least they're pushing back. At least they're, doing some type of, engagement with you. Mark, I love the fact that you talked about, staying in the game. That is so funny you would say that because I didn't get home till late yesterday and we had to go to a dinner party last night. So I didn't clean my emails out before I went to bed. I get up this morning, very first thing, boom, right in my inbox is a proposal that I had out. We'd been having great engagement, but it didn't go through. And they went with an internal. And the immediate thing I did was responded to her, not a problem, excited, look forward to staying in touch. But I had just marked my CRM for the next contact that I'm going to have with her. I'm going to talk to her right after the engagement to start working on next year. So incredibly important what you said.
It's funny. I had the exact same thing. There was another person I reached out to yesterday, And again, the proposal, and they said, no, we're going to stay with internal speakers this year. We're not going to go outside. And it's interesting, but I reached out to her because the event is still coming up. And I said, hey, and didn't get her, but left her a voicemail. Hey, just trust that you're still on track with everything. Just curious to really make sure. And if there's anything I can lend you to just to support you, reach out. It was nothing but a touch call. Was there a lot of value added? There was personal value because I wasn't backing off. I'm not backing off in terms of being in her face. I'm backing off and saying, hey, go for what you did. Yeah, I can argue that I'm not in agreement with it, but I'm not going to tell her that. But you got to stay in the game. Sales is so much about the activity. It's the activity. You don't put the points up on the board until you run the plays on the field. You got to do that. You got to do that. I love Bryn's comment. I love rejection is better than selling the wrong thing to a client that regrets buying from you. Spot on. That's a mic. That's 2 weeks in a row. Bryn has had a mic drop moment. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, talk about perspective. So incredibly powerful. It is the worst thing you could do is sell the wrong product to a client and they regret buying from you. I want to speak a moment about Roosevelt's second part of his question, though. How do you stay motivated? Because persistence is so much more than capacity. It is, can I keep doing this? Do I want to keep doing this? Because the last thing you want to do is just be taking this rejection, getting back up, and you're not bringing the energy into your sales calls, the passion, the belief type of a thing. So Roosevelt, you got to be managing your energy and versus managing your time. And Mark, we ought to do a show about this sometime because I'm such a passionate believer. So sorry if I insult anybody out there who focuses on time management. But years ago, I started managing my energy. And so on a morning that maybe I get a couple of rejections, that takes the energy out of you. I don't care what kind of mindset you have about it, what type of belief, what type of perspective. It's still a bummer. You had something in your pipeline, it didn't close. They don't want to talk to you. Everything you do, it still takes the energy out. So what are you doing to balance to get that energy back in? And Roosevelt, you're in a tough market right now, convincing people to sell their homes when the economy is going sideways, when pricing on real estate in some parts of the country and the world are still really high. It's difficult. So think about those things that pour energy back into you. And you can balance those. You make 10 calls and 10 people tell you, no, we have no interest in selling our house. Maybe 2 say, don't call me again. Whew, that's kind of a hit upside the head. What are you going to do to put a little bit of energy back into you?
Well, and that's where you have to play the long game. You have to realize that every day is not just, Disney World. It's just not going to happen. But what you do is you keep your focus on the long game and keep your focus on the outcomes that you create. And I tell this, in fact, yesterday morning, I was having coffee with a person who thinking about getting out of sales. Really she's just absolutely frustrated. And I challenged her, I said, when was the last time you wrote down a list of the 10 outcomes you create and 10 people who you've really impacted? And, you got to look at the long game because what she was frustrated at was what she's going through right now. And she's scared of the economy, scared of going forward. And totally understand that, totally understand. But I said, you know what? Unless you get back in the game is going to defeat you. And so it's up to you to control it. And that starts by looking at the valleys are never as low as you think they are. And just as the mountaintops are never as high as you think they are. And you've got to be willing to focus on the outcomes. I love John's comment. I know you undoubtedly want to make a comment on it. Go ahead.
Oh, John Register, the man who speaks about getting past hurdles, has got a great comment here. I love the fact that he said, I was in front of 190 people. 70 said they probably want to hear you again. Most want to hear him. Again, over 190 say, oh my God, John was amazing. But then there's those two, right? There's those two that say no. And we focus in on those two. And he says that I heard this weekend, a brilliant guy say, they are not your audience or your market. And the brilliant guy he's talking about is I was with John down at High Point University, and we were blessed enough to have Nito Quabain spend a couple of hours with us. So a couple of parts in that. Number one is think about how much value do you, or how much energy do you put into the no's and to the rejection? Because if you're putting too much, you're focusing your energy in the wrong places. And so, balancing that out. The other is, I love that John mentioned that he heard a brilliant guy say this weekend, because I think one of the most motivating things that we can do to keep us going through rejection is to look at ridiculously successful people and look at their life and how many times they have been rejected, or they have been, turned down, or they have flat been told no. I mean, I can't tell you how many best-selling authors, couldn't get their books past publishers. How many people who, blockbuster movies couldn't get that funding for companies that, are unbelievable at this point. And they were told no. And there's so much energy in that. Years ago, I had a really bad feedback on a keynote that I had done, and I was so depressed about it. And I called Connie Podesta, and I had an hour's drive back from the keynote. And for an hour, she told me every single time she had failed on stage, and it was so incredible. I was like, she said, Meridith, you got to toughen up if you're going to make it in this business. And Roosevelt Nixon, you better toughen up if you are going to make it in the real estate business in the Bahamas.
Let's go back and look at number 23 or number 45, Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls. He is known for his game-winning shots. But you know what? There's a whole lot more shots that he missed. But as he'd like to say, you know what? Unless I took those shots and missed, I never would have took the shots and made them. You've got to be willing to make the shot. You got to be willing to shoot the ball. Here's what it comes down to. You can't allow yourself to focus on the naysayer. And this is the challenge, because I see people, this is the person I was having coffee with yesterday. She was focusing on the negative aspects. And then the negative begins to overwhelm. And we've all been guilty. I've been guilty of this. I'm sure you have too. But you like, the rejection. Oh no, I'm never going to get another deal. I'm never going to get another deal. And then you know what? The sun comes up in the morning. And there's new opportunities. And the way you survive this, the way you do, is you get on the horse and you ride. And it's all about the activities. And this is the challenge that I see so many salespeople. They begin to face rejection. So what happens is they start having fewer activities. And then they say, see, it's not working. Well, yeah, I know, because you're not making as many calls. You're not sending out as many emails. You're not having as many conversations. There's a reason for that. If you increase the quantity, now again, there's quantity and quality. That's a whole separate issue. But if you increase your activity, you will see more results. You can't get crops out of a garden by planting one seed. No, you plant a lot of seeds. Why? Because not all of them are going to come to fruition, but you got to be in the game making it happen. So much. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that John Register brings up a really great point when he ends here and saying that it's not your audience or not your market. Because I also think that Roosevelt, you need to go back in and you need to analyze why the rejection is happening. So while activity is incredibly important, don't do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. I always tell my clients, rejection comes down to two things, and it's how I look in my own business. Have I chosen the right target market? Am I calling on people that literally want to buy or have need of the product that I am selling? Would they see value in that or not? And a lot of times when I'm dealing with a lot of rejection, it's because I was fishing in the wrong pond. The second is I haven't defined the value prop. And boy, Roosevelt, I am talking to you right now, because what motivated somebody to sell a home 6 months ago is not what is motivating them to sell a home right now. Think about the marketplace in the last 6 months. So much about it is different. So the moment that the marketplace shifts, and we are living in highly volatile, constantly shifting times, your pain points of your customers shift, and you desperately need to stay in touch with that. So go back and analyze, are you calling on the right target? And do you understand their motivator, their desire, and the problem that they want solved? Why would they buy your product? Why would they sell your home? If you can't answer that like that, then they don't, you're not selling the right thing.
Yeah, I want to come back and pick up on what you said because it's so key. You got to stay in your lane. It is so easy for us to see somebody get a big sale in some other industry, some other type. And, wow, okay. And suddenly, wow, that's where I'm going to no, stay in your lane because that's where you are competent. That's where you are confident. And here's what it comes down to. Your value proposition in a state of uncertainty, which you talk a lot about, changes almost daily because of the marketplace, which means you've got to be listening to the customer more than ever. Right now, more than ever, it's more conversations with the customer. Because again, the value proposition you put forward a month or two ago, Roosevelt, is different than what you're putting forward today. And it's going to be different than what you put forward a couple months from now. And you've got to hone in on that because here's the other thing. Everybody is becoming hyper-focused on what their individual value proposition is. I had a call yesterday, 4 VPs of sales working on a major project, major company. If I said the name, everybody would know it. And there was a naysayer in that group. One of the VPs was a naysayer in that group. And because that person's value proposition was totally different than the other 3, totally different. And I've got some work to do. I got to come back. I got to figure out those pieces. But see, again, different stakeholders bring different expectations of value propositions, but it comes back to listening. You really got to listen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that a major step that we all need to take is, in fact, I think I'm going to do this today, is really look back over the first quarter and see where I lost deals and ask myself, why did I lose those deals? What was going on there? For a number of reasons. Number one, am I focused on the right client? Do I understand the right problem? But there's a good chance that those rejections are telling me something. It goes back to what both Andrew Sykes said and Bryn Tillman said, is there's information in the rejection. And information in the rejection can help you make better and higher quality calls going forward. So I love this idea of what Andrew Sykes said, and that is, fall in love with the rejection. Like, every piece, the thing about sales, and one reason I think I love it, and I know Mark loves it, is like you never master it. You're constantly getting better at it. You're constantly working on it. And the best sales coach out there, the best bar none, is you. I mean, you track when you win deals, you track when you lose deals. And the more you can understand about that, the better that you can increase the quality of the prospect that you're calling on, the quality of the value prop you position, the quality of the conversation. And all of that is going to increase the amount you close. But you will always be rejected. And the more you can learn from the rejection, the better salesperson you're going to be.
And don't hesitate to reach back out to those people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I said, I had the situation where I got rejected, but I reached back out to her yesterday. I only got a voicemail, but I want to have another conversation with her. Don't hesitate to keep those people in the conversation. The whole time today we've been talking about rejection. I can't help but think that we've been channeling Andrea Waltz and her book, Go for No, right? Because again, this whole thing, you can't run from no. Yes. Hey, time is running fast on us. Jump in here for a moment because John shares another great comment. Go ahead.
John just said he's got a new podcast with Kat Kopit called Performance Shift. In our third show, they spoke with Garrett Reisman, astronaut. Wow, John, that sounds like an awesome podcast. And you were blown away in the last rocket launch was they cheered because the things they were testing worked. And 2, they have several tickets already ready to go. They're putting not 7 people in space, but 100 people in space. That is playing the long game. There's so much to be learned from losing and so much to be analyzed from losing. And if you can shift your head around it, you're going to be in a much better position.
Spot on. Great. Hey, the book this week, Do It Selling, from our good friend, David Newman. This is really, this is funny because this is a guy who has had an epiphany. Because if you were to ask him 5 or 6 years ago if he liked sales, he'd say no. Today he loves it. Yeah. Have you had a chance to read it?
I have just started it. I just got it in the mail the other day, and David is actually launching this week. And so wanted to make sure we get him on the podcast and highlight it. Probably many of you have read Do It Marketing, which is a brilliant read written by David about what you need to do to really stand out from your competition and market effectively and most on a shoestring. So I can imagine Do It Selling is going to be just as powerful.
And I like it because it's an easy read. It's short chapters. And it really is written in David Newman style. And if you know David Newman style, as you're reading it, you're going to think he's sitting right there next to you, which is really creepy, but that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of energy.
Anyway, hey, we need to talk about Sales Logic Live, an event on May 24th. And that's our top 10 list, because I'll tell you what, we are rolling out this system. And man, it is so simplistic. And that's what I love about it. This is going to revolutionize sales when we share this out there. So anyway, hey, lightning round, top 10 reasons to attend Sales Logic Live. And we'll put the link in the show notes, okay, for you to get your tickets, okay? So go ahead. You go first. Go.
Yeah, I hope that you are going to plan to join us on May the 24th in Dallas, Texas. Mark and I are going to be rolling up our sleeves and spending the day with you, redefining the sales process to make you successful no matter what this marketplace does. Number one, you need to attend Sales Logic Live, because guess what? It is time to update and upgrade your sales system.
Hey, and next one, you can feel the market shifting, and you need to be ahead of it with new techniques.
You're looking for good networking, good community, other people that you can really bounce ideas off of and you can collaborate. You are going to find that in the Sales Logic system.
You need to get motivated. Because I'll tell you what, just as Roosevelt was talking about it, everybody needs motivation, especially in today's market. And the community we're creating coming out of Sales Logic Live is absolutely powerful. And you're going to want to be part of it.
Yeah, you need some real strong tactics. You need a repetitive process that you can do consistently that is not only going to get you through the door to decision makers, it's going to increase your sales conversations, and it is going to get you more closed deals.
And you need to find new ways to bring new value to your clients, because guess what? Yesterday was yesterday. Tomorrow's tomorrow. You got to deal with today. How do I bring value to my clients today?
Yeah. You want to attend Sales Logic Live because you're going to get all your questions answered. Every obstacle, every challenge, everything that you think is standing in the way of your success, we're going to peel back the layers. We're going to get down to the grassroots, and we're going to solve those problems.
You know you can be successful, and you don't just need to change something, but you don't know what that something is. We're going to help you find that something. We're going to identify that something, and we're going to nail it. And trust me, you're going to come out of it vastly improved with your selling skills.
Whole different mindset and an increased confidence. No matter what the marketplace throws at you, you know that you know exactly what to do. You don't wonder, you don't have shiny object syndrome, you don't think you should be doing something else. This is going to be exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, I'll share one more, you share one more, and we'll close the show down. It's about simplifying things. People, we have overcomplicated sales. Sales is not as complicated as we make it out to be. Meridith and I are going to show you how to simplify it and make it a routine that you can repeat over and over and over again.
Yeah, we've got tools and strategies for you. So you're literally going to leave on the 24th with a plan, with exactly the strategies and the tools that you need to put in place to repetitively turn uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage.
Yeah. And of course, what's nice is you can join us live in Dallas, or you can join us anywhere worldwide online. And it's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. And you're going to get the whole Sales Logic system blueprint. So anyway, with that, hey, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend. And hey, do us another favor, leave us a review, because it's how we grow when other people begin to see this is something worth listening to. And hey, let me tell you something. I'm Mark Hunter, and I'm botching this whole final close. I really don't care.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And see, we finish strong, and the sale becomes logical.
That's right. We'll see you right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic Live. And right now, before you finish the episode, go to saleslogicpodcast.com. Check out our event for May 24th, and we will see you in Dallas, Texas. Now go close a few deals.